handed it to her. Taking the cash with a solemnity reserved for heads of state, she counted it again. It was all there, and my reward was the one and only smile I'd ever see from her. "Guten Tag," she had said then, ushering me out through the Gothic door to Adelhauser Strasse. The heavy wood doors closed behind me, followed by a click of a lock. It would be the first of many locks that kept me out or hid important secrets, and it was far from the last time I would find myself alone, lost, and desperate to understand what was happening. Compelled, some would later say obsessed, I had to continue a journey I never planned, until it came to some kind of conclusion. The address Frau Baumer had pressed into my hand turned out to be around the corner. The key opened the front door to the building, unlocked at my mid-morning arrival for the sake of the businesses that occupied the ground floor, and the door to the fifth-floor apartment where I would stay until directed to the next place. There was no need to unpack my bag, since I didn't plan on a lengthy stay, and there were no drawers or closets in which to put my belongings anyway. The dark and airless single room had high windows that opened on a slight vertical slant. A tiny tiled bathroom allowed a full-grown adult headroom on one side only. With its small refrigerator, sink, and a two-eyed stove, the kitchen area reminded me I would have to buy a few staples at the first chance. Right now, however, the night flight from Atlanta to Zurich, then to Basel, and the train to Freiburg had taken its toll. A few hours of sleep on the low bed might help put everything that had happened in such a short time into focus. Things were far too complicated to figure out without adding an addled mind to the mix. My sleep was disjointed and disturbed by the unfamiliar setting and sounds. The distant cadence of streetcars running on regimented schedules became almost soothing until the high-pitched wail of an emergency vehicle punctured the peace, jolting me awake again to fight through the fog of confusion on my whereabouts. Solid rest eluded me. So, in frustration, I got up, took a shower with my head bent at an acute angle to avoid injury, and set out to see if the old town would offer easy answers to my myriad questions. It was at this point I found myself back at the Gothic fortress that protected Frau Baumer from most tourists, and it was here, as I watched daylight meld to dusk, that my courage almost failed. Chapter 2. A mere 3 days prior in Atlanta, I had found my name typed on an envelope and placed on a corner table of the hotel bar where I attempted to hide the previous night. No one had occupied the seats around the table, nor was there any hint anyone had been there earlier. The glass cocktail table was void of finger smudges and emitted a faint odor of disinfectant that mingled with the sweet scent of fresh-cut roses erupting from a silver vase. Under the canopy of deep red velvet petals lay the envelope. Someone had expected me to return to the same place at the same time on a second night. A sudden chill touched the back of my neck. That someone had predicted my behavior under unusual and what I considered more than random odds. I'd never been in this hotel before, ever, and had certainly never attended a conference like this, or one even similar. Further, I wasn't a guest at the hotel, since my house in the suburbs was within driving distance. The moment of fringe uneasiness gave way to a rationalized thought. Perhaps it was a lucky, even hopeful guess at my whereabouts on a second night. This had to be closer to the truth than the wild odds and the nagging thought my behavior fit into some habitual pattern observed and acted upon by an anonymous person who left thick envelopes for me to discover. Or maybe I was overreacting as a result of reading too many true crime books just before I turned out the light for a restful sleep. The recent headlines were a different matter. Now relegated to less coverage and buried in the newspaper for lack of a conclusion, the story still piqued my curiosity and brought disjointed thoughts in the middle of the night. The result was sleep that became disrupted and, perhaps, a thread of paranoia and suspicion was the price I paid now. Still, against my better judgment, which had escaped me in times before, I reached for the envelope. What I found inside proved I had been far too cautious in my concerns. The conference, touted as an exploration of the inner self, had been a gift from my friend, Lee, who thought it best my mind expand before it imploded upon itself. That was overstating the facts, as she was wont to do, but against my better judgment, I agreed to attend if she did.